Well, again, I know this is a very, unique way to kind of do an interview, but it's a pleasure
I
to meet
know. I know, it's crazy.
you. So to start off, I wanted to ask you, what was your first thought when you first read the script for Love Victor?
Honestly, my first thought was like, oh, this is so sweet and so cute and so just very sweet. And then I read it again and I thought, oh my God, this is actually really important because we don't have this kind of a show for our community, which in my experience still has a great deal of sort of homophobia and machismo. Maybe machismo is a better word than homophobia, but that sort of culture still is pretty prevalent, for better or worse. And I thought, how interesting to look at it from our side of things, and I got really excited about
And I'm glad that you mentioned the Hispanic side of things because what I loved about the show was that it took the traditional Hispanic household and their view towards the LGBTQ plus community. And I wanted to ask you, what's maybe the biggest lesson that traditional Hispanic families can learn from watching Love Victor?
it. Oh, that's such a good question. First of all, so much. I think that cliche that's going around that representation matters. I think it is so true, and I think that the more young Latin kids can see someone like them struggling with their sexuality and not knowing how to tell their family who might not be so accepting. Because in Love, Simon, the interesting thing is that in Love, Simon, the parents were so open and so, you know, progressive and everything like that. And I think a lot of Latinos don't experience that. I think not that we're not a progressive community, but in terms of like, it's okay for your son, not mine. And I think it's really interesting to watch that struggle and to see that conversation played out and maybe help another kid say like, okay, this is how I can approach it and I'm not alone. And maybe this won't turn out so bad, So I just think anytime you can sort of help a dialogue happen, especially within our community, and especially to like sort of cut down that idea that this machismo is sort of the only way to be a man is not true. It's very valid as well, but there's also a myriad of ways to sort of incorporate that.
Absolutely.
Boys kissing boys.
This is not the world we grew up in.
And I also wanted to ask you, you play the mother of Victor, who is a teenager ready to come out to the world.
Yeah.
And there are so many parents out there that may have a child that is a part of the LGBTQ plus community. What advice would you give to a potential parent that may be dealing with a similar situation as your character in the show?
It's so interesting because I've played two mothers of gay sons, and on Betty, she was Hilda, my character on Ugly Betty, was so open and so really, she was ready to fight anybody who came for her son because he was gay and ready to like really, come to terms with it. Where Isabel, I think, is, first of all, she's clueless, or so she says. I think every mother sort of knows. I think the way to handle it is to try to be as calm as possible and try to look at it from your kid's point of view, whether it's your son or your daughter, and try to really look at it, turn it around, and try to see how hard it is for them to tell you this, especially
Absolutely.
Especially Isabel, who is, hanging Jesus up on the wall and praying all the time for everybody and is very religious. I think the only thing I would have advice for a parent who's that feeling, who has to have that experience, is to just say, just please stay open and please stay full of love and please keep Jesus in your heart because he loved everyone.
Absolutely. Now, they're already telling me to wrap up, so I just want to do a very quick rapid fire. So
Okay.
the first thing that comes to mind, you answer.
Okay.
All right. So describe Love Victor in 5 words or less.
Sweet, funny, breakthrough, hot cast.
One more.
Good acting.
Perfect. Okay. Now we see Victor DMing constantly throughout the show. And I wanted to ask you, would you rather text, call, or write a letter?
Oh, I'm a text girl all day long. All day long. I should be writing letters, but.
All right. And last one, what's the craziest thing you do for a tres leches cake?
I would probably, I mean, I would try to cook one. That's the craziest thing because I am a complete failure at baking.
Well, again, Anna, thank you so much for your time. I know this is a very unique way to do an interview, but again, it was an absolute pleasure.
You are a joy. Thank you so much.